Okay, good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us for our class of 2022 Scholar Presentations. We're so excited to hear from our students about their experience in their program and their future plans. We're also very excited to hear from our keynote speaker, Tammy Briant Spratling, who will be introduced by our board member, Sarah Lahlou-Amine. So I'm just going to check the attendee list. I see we have some attendees and I'm sure more people will be joining us. So thank you so much for attending to hear from our students. And thank you to all our board members for joining us today. We're going to hear from a lot of people. So we're going to go straight into the program. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Journey to Esquire. Journey to Esquire's mission is to create lawyers who lead, mentor, and inspire, one student at a time. The Journey to Esquire Scholarship and Leadership Program provides academic and professional development for students interested in becoming lawyers. The journey to Esquire is a long one, but we're here to help. And we are essential for diverse law students who need financial and emotional support because we provide cash scholarships, mentors, and training that helps them pass the bar exam, obtain an appointment, and competitive and powerful employers, and obtain leadership positions in professional associations. So I want to share a quick slide about our ideals. So the Journey to Esquire ideals include inclusion, equity, diversity, equity, access, and leadership. And we define the ideals in the following ways. Inclusion is the practice or policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resources for people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalized, such as those who have physical and mental disabilities and members of other minority groups. And it's the practice of ensuring that people feel a sense of belonging in the workplace. Diversity is the practice or quality of including or involving people from a range of different social and ethnic backgrounds and of different genders, sexual orientations. Equity is the quality of being fair and impartial. And equity is the process of ensuring that processes and programs are impartial, fair, and provide equal possible outcomes for every individual. Access is the right to obtain or make use of or take advantage of something such as services or membership. Leadership is the art of motivating a group of people to act towards achieving a common goal, and service is giving back to the community at large, included but not limited to pro bono services. So the program aims to instill those qualities in our students. And we also work towards our mission through a blog and a podcast, which you can find at www.journeytoesquire.com. So we have a couple of little housekeeping matters. We will be recording the program and taking some screenshots. So mostly the panelists will be on the video. If you're an attendee, you're not on the video, and so you won't be recorded with sound or video. And we're going to have the program in two parts. First, we're going to have our keynote speaker give some remarks, and I believe she's open to taking questions from the audience. And then we'll take a very brief, like 5-minute break to transition, and then we're going to hear from our wonderful scholars and one of our interns today. Very excited about that, because they are the center of the program and the reason why we do everything. They're going to share their experience in the program. Some of them will share some things from their past that brought them to this moment, and some will talk about what they plan for the future. So now we'll pass the mic to Sarah Lahlou-Amine. Sarah served as the treasurer this year. She is a shareholder at Banker Lopez Gassler, specializing in appellate work, and she is also a pro bono advocate and has worked with the program for over 2 years as a volunteer. All yours, Sarah.
Thank you, Jocelyn. It's a great honor to present to you today our keynote speaker, Tammy Briant Spratling. Tammy is a true pillar of our community, and in my short time introducing her this morning, I know I can't even begin to share with you everything she's done and continues to do to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in and well beyond the Tampa Bay area. But my guess is that many of you are familiar with her work, and whether it be through her role as CEO of Community Tampa Bay, as former Dean of Students at Stetson University College of Law, as a professor of modern civil rights at Stetson, or of education law at the University of South Florida, or through any of a number of her community initiatives. You've seen Tammy in action and have been impacted, as I have, by her thoughtful, considerate, and effective leadership, and of course, by her incredibly warm personality. As CEO of Community Tampa Bay, Tammy leads teams of change makers. Together, they operate programs that empower individuals to engage in dialogue and cross-cultural interaction to break down barriers and promote inclusion. With these tools in hand, these individuals go back to their respective institutions and communities where they continue to have important conversations that interrupt discrimination and promote a shared sense of community. Community Tampa Bay describes Tammy as bringing passion, professionalism, and significant leadership to its mission of cultivating inclusive leaders who respectfully engage in hard conversations with others who don't look like them, live like them, or love like them, to create a community free from all forms of discrimination. Tammy exemplifies that mission in our community, and we're so grateful to have her with us this morning. Tammy, take it away.
Wow, good morning. Thank you so much, Sarah. That was such a kind introduction and so personalized. I really appreciate that. Well, good morning, everyone. It is truly a pleasure to be here this morning and to honor your great achievements and successes. I feel joy to be a part of an initiative that empowers a future generation of diverse lawyers. I hope to offer you a few words of affirmation, encouragement, and perhaps a splash of inspiration. When I heard that I would be speaking this morning, I wanted to know who the speaker was last year. It was fun to learn that it was the Honorable Mary Scriven of the Middle District of Florida. She provided remarks at my graduation, which was quite a few years ago now. And, you know, I find that when you have a graduation, you receive such wonderful advice from your graduation speaker. And many times you take away the themes, but the specific words oftentimes escape you because you're so excited for the day. Your mind is thinking about where your parents are in the audience and all of those other amazing, beautiful distractions for your celebration. But for my graduation, I actually remember Judge Scriven's speech, and specifically a quote that she gave from that speech. She said, "When you come into the legal profession, and really any workplace, always remember the sound words of Beyonce. Don't you ever for a second get to thinking you're irreplaceable." Let me say that again. Don't you ever for a second get to thinking you are irreplaceable. Now, here's the thing. God gave me an amazing brain, but he did not give me a good voice. So I'm sorry that I'm not able to sing that and really do Beyonce the justice that she deserves. But I'm hopeful that you will take the sentiment away nonetheless, because I can't tell you how often I've reflected on those words. There are so many lessons and wise takeaways that I've gleaned from this quote over the years. Certainly, the words remind us to be humble, to never allow ourselves to think we are indispensable or that we're so necessary that we're the only one that can do the job. Meaning, maybe when we have those evenings where we have to work into the evening, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., maybe we should also think about, is someone else able to also do the job? Can we share the load? Her usage of the quote also allows us to reflect on the fact that organizations are made up of people. So an organization is not human. It has no loyalty. And as an entity, it simply cannot love you. So you can fall in love with an organization, a workplace, a firm, a member organization, but it can't love you back. And so therefore, it's pretty easy to tell you to the left, place everything in a box to the left. So with Beyonce's words ringing true in our ears, we learn to be humble. And can anybody hear the word humble without hearing Kendrick Lamar in their head anymore? Sit down and be humble. Why I think that this advice is the most important, though, is because it offers us the ability to live a balanced life. It gives us the permission not to pour our entire life into our careers, but to also spend time with loved ones, enjoy our hobbies, give back to our communities, take care of our minds and our bodies, and generally live fulfilled lives. As I say this, I'm beginning to get a bit emotional. Myself, like many people in the legal community, are actively grieving. We grieve our friend, Teresa Jean-Pierre Coy, who passed away earlier this week. She fought tirelessly as a criminal defense lawyer and fought cancer even harder. She lived a beautiful life filled with love of her family. She was stepmom to my godson, TJ. She has a beautiful other son, Thaddeus, and a wonderful husband. She served her community well. She inspired many lawyers, young and experienced, through mentorship and friendship. She leaves a hole in our community. Her greatest strength was her ability to make anyone feel at ease in her presence. When you met her, you immediately felt a sense of connection and belonging. She was my family, but she made everyone feel like family. So today I'd like to talk to you about belonging because Teresa had a natural way of her to cultivate belonging in everything that she did and everyone she encountered. In our work at Community Tampa Bay, we are finding increased energy around the word belonging. In spaces of diversity, equity, and inclusion, language often changes. Terms are disposed of, reclaimed, and redefined. So it is no surprise that currently there are conversations around the nation around what law firms, companies, and organizations equity initiatives should be called. We've heard the acronyms such as DE&I, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, JEDI, adding justice to the beginning, DEIA, adding accessibility to the end, and DEIB, which stands for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. As culture wars wage on and attempts to stifle equity work are real and tangible, these terms continue to change and evolve. However, there's a lot of energy generating around the word belonging. And I'm going to go on to suggest why I think it's going to be the word that sticks around for a while. Processing out, what does the word belonging mean? Well, there's certainly a duality to it. We can define belonging as an internal emotion and experience. And then also we can look at it from a cultivation of an environment or a space. So an internal and an external. So meaning, do I feel like I belong? And also, has the environment been cultivated in a way that creates belonging? I'll give you an example of belonging, or rather perhaps a lack of belonging. Imagine a house party. Everyone has received the same invitation, ate the same food, everyone had the same drink choices, everyone heard the same music, and everyone had the opportunity to talk to everyone else at the party. From an outsider's perspective, this seems like a pretty equal party. Everyone received the same opportunities and experiences. Yet, have you ever gone to a party and walked out feeling down or lonely, having a general sense that you didn't quite belong? On reflection, you evaluated all those things. You said, I had the same invitation, I had the same food, I listened to the same music, yet I still didn't feel like I belonged. We must evaluate this feeling on two levels, the internal and the environmental. Internally, a lack of sense of belonging can show up in similar ways as what we call imposter syndrome. You don't quite believe that you deserve to be at the party, even though you received the same invitation as everyone else. Over the course of my life, I've had some pretty slightly ridiculous examples of this. I grew up in a rural town. My high school graduating class of 82 was probably about 75% the same folks that I went to kindergarten with. It was a small town and a pretty rural lifestyle. Now, side note, I think of Journey to Esquire's board member, Darnisha Carter, who's here with us today. I had the opportunity to hear her speak at one of her graduation celebrations. She began her speech telling everyone that we probably didn't know that she grew up very wealthy. She then shared the richness of love and support she had from her family growing up. Her wealth was defined by love, not financials. Her story resonated with me because I too was wealthy growing up with the love of family and friends. Yet extra money was hard to come by. Growing up, I failed to experience a sense of belonging in many spaces. I remember distinctly when a neighboring town built a brand new Target. On my first visit, I was afraid that somebody was going to come along and tell me I wasn't able to shop there, that I wasn't welcome to shop there. And because the aisles were wide and clean, bright lights, I would think about filling, I couldn't even imagine filling my cart with these expensive things and being able to pay for them. Not long later, the same neighboring town built a mall filled with trendy stores with designer clothes. I remember walking into these stores with apprehension that I wasn't welcome to shop there. Still to this day, there are places and spaces that I don't believe are open to me. Restoration Hardware at International Plaza, I'm looking at you. I look at that place and I think it looks like a palace. And I'm like, who shops there? My husband of 12 years, Kareem Spratling, always reminds me that these are spaces that are open to me. And he puts what I now call the belonging boogie monster into check. Yet sometimes I simply don't believe it. And I call my own worthiness into question from time to time. Perhaps a more serious example is being multi-ethnic. Half Puerto Rican and half white in an almost 100% white town and being adopted, I found myself never quite feeling like I was white enough. And when I was around Hispanic people, since I didn't speak Spanish, never quite feeling Puerto Rican enough. Whether this was internal or external, I found and sometimes continue to find spaces where I don't quite feel like I belong. I want to raise up my friend Sydney Parkhurst, who's at the University of Tampa in their film program. She's currently creating a documentary which is called Mixed Feelings to highlight transracial adoption. Coming soon. So I say that to say this. The internal belonging boogie monster is a real thing and can be tricky because it's often rooted in deeply held beliefs of self and identities for which we have no control. There are very real elements of our society that impact our sense of belonging. This ties to why I believe that the concept of belonging will remain relevant in diversity, equity, and inclusion work, and DEIB may be our winning acronym for a little while. Because it is not just on individuals to feel like we belong, and it is not enough for law firms, companies, and organizations to tell us that we belong. No, environments must be cultivated to create belongingness. Vernee Myers, an expert in diversity, equity, and inclusion work, explains that diversity is being invited to the party and inclusion is being asked to dance. The quote goes a long way in explaining the difference between diversity and inclusion and has helped people of different generations understand that we cannot stop at diversity, that we must also engage in interactive and engaging inclusion. Today, I pose that we can't stop at inclusion. We must also cultivate belonging. Has anyone danced with a bad dance partner? Your partner couldn't find the rhythm, stepped on your toes, went left when you went right. Super frustrating. I can literally remember dancing with someone one time when my only hope was that the song would end. Could the DJ just cut the song off? This was a terrible experience. So that diversity and inclusion isn't enough. There has to be some cultivation, some additional element, which I think is belonging. For belonging to exist, we must sync our rhythms. We need to navigate stepping on each other's toes and strategically check in to make sure we are all moving in the right direction. This is complicated for organizations that are used to dancing with the same types of dance partners. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? When we invite new people, perspectives, and lived experiences into the space, we cannot expect that everyone is going to be dancing the same dance. Cultivating belonging is not the responsibility of the new dancers. Let me say that again. Cultivating an environment of belonging is not the responsibility of the new dancers. If you want to make me feel like I belong, then you must cultivate an environment that respects and embraces me for who I am and what I bring to the dance floor. And I've got some pretty sick dance moves. There's one called the windshield wipers, goes a little bit like this. It's a good one. So what does an environment that cultivates belonging look like? Here are 3 characteristics of environments that cultivate belonging. Number 1, spaces that cultivate belonging create space for disagreement. Rather than smoothing disagreement over, people are encouraged to engage and go deeper, to explore disagreement and not just agree to disagree. It is human to wish to avoid conflict, to not go there. But organizations that want to create connectedness and belonging must absolutely go there. Number 2, spaces that cultivate belonging celebrate and experience pain together. Spaces are created to personally connect with each other and celebrate the milestones and create space for the hardships. Organizations that avoid the natural human experiences of life, good and bad, lose opportunities to build belongingness. There's an innate element of being human that desires connectedness, of experiencing others' humanness. We all experience love, joy, loss, and grief. Organizations that cultivate belonging recognize and create space for this connection. Number 3, spaces that cultivate belonging institutionalize affirmation and vulnerability. Institutionalizing affirmation and vulnerability are not just a practice, but are embedded in policy and culture. What does an affirming environment look like? What does it look like to be a part of a vulnerable environment? In our work at Community Tampa Bay, we empower organizations to lean into vulnerability and to develop an affirmation culture. It takes a lot of purpose, but we're able to build these characteristics off of a trusting and transparent foundation. It is worth repeating here that it is not the person who's new to the dance responsibility to cultivate belonging. Yet, as minorities, we are often asked to lead diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. We are also asked to speak on behalf of or for our identities. This is wrought with fallacies, and as an approach to equity, oftentimes fails. Because my experiences are uniquely mine and cannot be generalized, stereotyped, or compartmentalized. So belonging is both an internal emotion and experience, as well as an environmental aspiration and existence. I think of my own experience with belonging in the legal profession. In law school and into my first job, I took a traditional route. In my 3L year, I participated in a clinic, which directly led to my first position at the state attorney's office in the child welfare division. And I was advocating for children who had been abused, abandoned, and neglected. As an adoptee, this was an area that I was super passionate about, and it spoke to who I was as a human. Every day, as a young lawyer, I faced internal questions as to whether I was good enough, smart enough, and frankly, even old enough. My internal sense of belonging was quite low. However, I had a wonderful mentor that cultivated belonging for me. She affirmed me every step of the way. When I messed up, she backed me up. She reminded me it was part of the learning curve. She even told me, if you mess up, we'll fix it. There's nothing that can't be fixed. And I was thinking about the fact that we're dealing in children's lives. That felt pretty intense, but it also was super helpful. It gave me the space to relax. And through these affirmations, I understood I could be me. I didn't have to play a certain role to belong. Now, from time to time, I face questions about not actively practicing law. Some even go so far to say, why aren't you a lawyer any longer? While this question is often innocent, it serves to take away from my hard work becoming a lawyer, the very real ways I continue to use my law degree, and my unentwinable identity as a lawyer to this day. I share this to provide advice to protect your sense of belonging. There will be times in your life, maybe your career, where you will feel perfect just the way you are, but others seek to define you in a way that others you or devalues your belongingness. Do not allow it. Your education, your hard work engaged through years and years of schooling to get to this point, your uniquely you lived experiences cannot be diminished. In fact, I've found the greatest threat to you and who you are is not someone else, but yourself. Preserve yourself. Do not seek to assimilate into others' definition of how to do the things. Chart your own path and boldly be who you are. When you are the first, when you are the exception, and when you are the only. So I leave you with this. Whether you're in a big firm, small firm, a nonprofit, a leadership organization, a Target, or a Restoration Hardware, have confidence that you belong. For exactly who you are, congratulations.
Thank you so much, Tammy, for those kind words. Thank you for acknowledging our friend who recently passed away, Teresa Jean-Pierre Coy. She has touched so many lives, and her sudden passing has really impacted a lot of us, and she was an early supporter of the program. So really, we appreciate having her kind of presence still recognized within the program, and our thoughts and prayers go to her family. Thank you for sharing about belonging, which is a big part of what the program is about. And thank you to Sarah Lahlou-Amine for that wonderful introduction. Each student's going to present, and they are not going to, we're not going to have introductions before each student. So I'm going to say the order the students will present in, and they're just going to go one after the other. Some of them do have slides to share with us, and others don't, and we'll just be speaking. They have about 5 to 10 minutes. And again, they will be sharing their experience with the program so that we can know the kind of impact it has had on them. And the list of students will be speaking in this order: Leah Lavelle, Corey Hendricks Bell, David Mitchell, Jessica Merca, Lucero Ayala Feliciano, Nina Sterling, and Tashina Sheena Burton. Okay, so Leah, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, and before Leah starts, just want to give, you might have seen the Federal Bar Association symbol. We want to thank the Tampa Bay chapter of the Federal Bar Association for allowing us to use their webinar, which makes this Zoom meeting a lot smoother. So they were gracious enough to donate the use of their webinar as a supporter of the program. And we will be giving a shout out to our other sponsors at the end. I'd also like to note that our panelists, please stick around after we're done with the Zoom so we can take some group photos. Okay, I pass the mic to you, Leah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So let me just share my screen very quick. Make sure the sound's on. All right. I'm assuming everyone can see my screen and see me, or I mean, you don't really have to see me, but at least see my screen. Okay, so today I really wanted to start off by talking about my journey to Esquire. I know that in the beginning of my journey in the scholarship program, I talked about my seminar paper during law school, which was the Crown Act. And I just wanted to be a little bit creative this time around and kind of give some background of who I am, where I came from, my upbringing, and just things like that before I started talking about law school and everything like that. So I'm here to talk about today who Leah is in her journey to Esquire. So this is my parents, Sharon, Bruce Lavelle. And then to the right, this is an old picture of them and my brother. His name is Kyle. Myself, and then here's my baby picture. I'm surprised I was even able to like dig up all of these pictures, but my dad, he like is a picture hoarder, so I just went to him and got all these pictures from him. But my parents, they are absolutely my role models, and I'll get to that on the next slide. Oops. Okay, there we go. So I grew up with an entrepreneur family. My parents started a jewelry business in Atlanta, Georgia. They were the first Black-owned fine jewelry owners. I don't know if it's still like that to this day, but it was a huge deal. I even tried looking for the newspaper article about it and everything. During that time, they also built some shopping centers. Another family picture of us, picture of me and my brother at the location of the shopping center. And just this time was pivotal for me because this is where I really learned about what was important to me from them and just how important work ethic was, and just seeing them grind literally every single day, except Sundays, because we had to go to church on Sunday. But every single day, working and just teaching me and my brother how important it is to have a good work ethic. And most importantly, I remember asking my dad, like, hey, how were you able to become successful to, complete these things? And I remember he told me the number one thing that you have to have is service and helping others. And he said, if you don't help others along the way, then you're not going to be successful. And I remember that stuck with me because I'm like, what does helping people have to do with starting business or anything like that? But it made sense. And from there on, as I grew up, and now as an adult, the number one area that is important to me is service, because I understand that you have to help not have to, but that should be number one when you want to be successful. So I'm gonna go to the next one. All right. So this is a fun video I'm going to play for you all, but first let me talk about the other two pictures. So this was my high school graduation in the top corner, and this picture down here was she's still alive, I shouldn't say was, is a picture of Judge Linda Walker. I don't know if anyone knows who she is, but she's a judge in Atlanta, Georgia, and a good family friend of my parents. And another thing during my upbringing that my family made sure that me and my brother did is there was this one summer where they called all their friends that were, in her case, she's a judge, a friend that was a chief of police. I can't remember what else I did. This was like so long ago at this point, but it sticks out to me, my conversation and shadowing with Miss Judge Walker, because at this time I was, I don't know, maybe in 9th, 10th grade. And I hung out with her at the courthouse, and she's, telling me what she does as a judge. And I came back home that night and said to my parents, I know one thing I don't want to do is be a lawyer because you have to read so much. And I just remember because she just had stacks, like it looked like a typical, courthouse judge's chambers. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this does not look funny or fun. So it's just funny that, looking at where I am now as a child, I didn't appreciate what was going on. I just thought it was like some boring stuff. But I actually did meet with her again the summer before I attended law school, and it was a completely different story. I didn't feel like the same immature high school kid that was just like work. It was a lot more productive in the conversation. But again, like, I appreciate my parents for that, because I feel like you have to, being exposed to as much as possible as a child, especially someone of color, because already there aren't that many people in these type of places, like as a judge, chief of police, like all of that. And especially living in Atlanta, that's a city where you will see people that look like you that are in high ranking jobs. And just, looking back, I appreciate that. And that's definitely helped me as an adult realize the importance of just having people that look like you around in these types of jobs as well. So I want to play a fun video. I've always been involved in some sort of speaking, political, whatever. So I'm just gonna play a really quick video for you guys. It's like 1 minute, 30 seconds of my ninth grade. I was in ninth grade, and it is my speech of running for president of the ninth grade class. So hopefully you guys can hear this. I played it earlier.
Victoria Lavelle. Most of you have heard my name before, but for the very few that haven't, I made up a slogan that will help you know and remember it. Leave it to Leah. You might wonder, what does it really mean to leave it to Leah? It means to solve our class's problems. Leave it to Leah to make our class healthier, excel, and be the best individuals that we can be. Let's be honest, as the ninth grade class president, I can't fix the economy or change the C you made on your last report card to an A. But what I can promise is that you can rely on me for any troubles you may have in school or out. And when you bring me these issues, I will promise I will represent all the voices of class 2013. I'm more than capable of representing your needs through my wide array of interests. I play basketball, I run track, I'm on the debate team. I make good grades, I'm interested in new ideas, new experiences, and open-minded. In conclusion, leave it to Leah to lead the class of 2013 to a successful future. I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you, everyone. Vote for Leah, and don't forget to leave it to Leah.
Oh my goodness, I just want to like tear up looking at that video, because while I still see myself in that video, but just thinking about the growth and everything like that I've had since then is just amazing. But I definitely wanted to make sure to include that in my presentation to kind of show that I've always just had this willingness to just want to serve, starting from, as I mentioned, my parents and how important they showed me, my brother, through high school, running for different, being a part of different organizations and everything like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Please don't post it or anything, but yeah. So, okay, and then this, okay. These are just pictures of me that I have from doing community service. I know I keep honing in on this, but it's absolutely key. And I just feel like I can't, like when I'm not doing community service of some sort, I just don't feel like my life is complete. And I always try to, stress that, because if you aren't helping others, then it really is hard to help yourself almost, because it's like you just don't have an accurate reality of what's going on. So have to keep talking about that. I know you guys are probably tired of me talking about that, but all right. And then I just want to briefly talk about what I was doing before law school. And now the number one question that I get in interviews is, how did you get to Stetson? How did you get to law school? So I will answer that with this slide. So let's start over to the right, actually. I was living in DC for about 3 years. It was amazing. The two pictures at the bottom is me doing media interviews. So I was doing a lot of media communications. Top picture, I'm in the back on the right, attending these big, huge level meetings with presidents and agency secretaries. This middle picture at the top, I worked for the secretary. This was when I worked for the Secretary of VA. So pretty much I was able to work at all levels of the government during my time in DC. And while I really enjoyed this experience, I'm absolutely grateful. It was an experience that most people will just never be able to see. For me, I felt like there was more that I needed to do, even though, yes, I was working for the government, and that's, essentially serving and helping people. I just felt like, for me, I wasn't doing enough. And I just, would sit and just be like, what can I do? Like, what can I do to even more directly help other people? So I'll turn to this picture on the left of, this is Sean Hopwood. And he was in this like 2017 60 Minutes special. I don't know like how I just remembered that new special, because obviously this is a weekly show and everything. But this particular special stuck with me. And it was about this guy right here. He came out the military, wasn't doing the right things, and ended up robbing a bank and went to prison. And while he was in prison, pretty much taught himself the law was like getting people out, writing letters for other inmates and everything like that. And now he's like this super successful law professor at Georgetown. He's written books, and so let me tell you how he's involved in my personal story. So while I was working at the Department of VA, I saw that he was on my boss's calendar, and I said something to her and was like, hey, I saw this meeting on your calendar. This is someone I actually really look up to. Do you mind if I attend this meeting? And she was just like, I don't even know who this is. Sure. So I was like, okay, say less. So I attended this meeting, and it was a small meeting with like 3 other people and him and whoever. And I was able to have some like one-on-one time to kind of ask him like, hey, can you share more about, why you're like, how you got to where you are? Like, obviously I know your story from 60 Minutes and everything like that. And he just really blew my mind essentially, and just talked about the issues with the prison system. He was in solitary confinement, and just talked about the issues with that. The course that he teaches at Georgetown is prison law. And I was just so intrigued, like, everything he was telling to me, like, I was just so intrigued. And at the end of the meeting, he was like, hey, here's my email, like, feel free to attend one of my classes. And that's exactly what I did. Like, I attended one of his classes one day and sat through it. And again, this is Georgetown University. So I'm thinking I'm like rolling up and it's just going to be some, like, you know, how those type of schools are thought of. So I sat through the class and I was like, this is law school. I can do this. I can absolutely do this. And from there, I took the LSAT. I took the January LSAT at that. And it's funny because everyone told me not to turn in my scores from January, because they say that if you turn in your January LSAT, you don't get into law school. But I did it and I got into Stetson at that, and ended up moving to Florida. And so now, let's see. Okay. So yeah, now just to kind of bring things full circle, I hope that you all were able to learn a little bit more about me before law school, because I know that's just something that I don't really talk about. But now, looking at Leah now, these pictures are all within the past year or so. And just from being in law school and competing in competitions where I'm able to essentially learn how to be a better advocate, so that when I do come out and graduate in less than a month, I'll be able to effectively, advocate for my clients that need it. And I just really want to thank this program for helping me get through this process as well. This picture in the middle, St. Pete Bar, they were the ones that represented me in this scholarship. And I will definitely say they went and still go above and beyond with making sure that I have everything I need, as far as they're always asking me if there's anyone that they should connect me with, or inviting me to events. The last event a couple weeks ago, I actually attended. Hillary Banks from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was the speaker, and I got a chance to talk to her and talk about hair. And that's something, like, who would have thought I'd ever be talking to Hillary Banks, like, one-on-one about hair? Like, that's amazing. But again, like, that's something that wouldn't have happened without this program. And it's just amazing to be able to be a part of something where, we're able to help each other, especially students of color, where, again, there's only a few of us in these higher positions, like attorneys and everything like that I talked about earlier. But I can absolutely say that this experience has exceeded my expectations, and just being connected with people that I wouldn't have received those connections just through my school. Obviously love Stetson. Stetson's amazing, but the connections that I've been able to receive from this are again, I wouldn't have had this experience just attending law school. So I definitely appreciate that. And just to kind of close up, here's a fun picture of me. That's my dog, Creed. We like to go swimming in the water. And then this is my headshot from the program. So a more serious picture of me. And yeah, so I hope you all were able to learn a little bit more about myself, and not just myself as a law student or myself as someone that writes seminar papers, but I hope you're able to see how I was raised and how that has helped me through this process. The journey of Leah to Esquire is obviously not complete. There's still a ways that I have to go. I still, don't exactly know where I'll end up, but I'm very excited about this journey. And I hope to stay in touch with all of you all after this. So thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you to all the board. And thank you all for listening to me talk today.
Hello, my name is Corey Hendricks, and this is my presentation for the Journey to Esquire program. So just a little bit about myself. I am a 3L and I'll be graduating in August 2022 from Cooley Law School. Currently, I work full-time at the City of St. Petersburg.
This is Jocelyn.
Yes.
Can you turn your video on?
Oh, I forgot to do that. I'm so sorry.
Yes, that's okay. And then let's start from the beginning. No worries.
Okay.
We just want a nice, clean clip for you to share with everyone.
All right. Can you see me now? Okay.
Yes,
So
you can proceed.
again, my name is Corey Hendricks Bell. I am a 2022 scholar in the Journey to Esquire program. So just a little bit about myself. I'm a 3L, graduating in August of this year from Thomas Cooley Law School. Currently, I work at the City of St. Petersburg in contracts compliance, focusing on major city construction and infrastructure projects. And right now, after law school, the areas that I'm interested in are family law, real estate, construction, and compliance and regulations. So this is just a quote that has kind of just stuck with me since I first started law school, and I think it kind of tied in with the program after completing it. And it just says that setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible to the visible. And I think with the program, it just kind of reinforced this idea that your dreams are obtainable if you just put in the work. So this is just a big picture of kind of what I've taken away from the program, some areas that we discussed throughout this almost past year in the Journey to Esquire program. So we had discussions on wellness, on lawyer wellness, on mentorship and leadership, professionalism, paying it forward, diversity, and bridging the gap. And then I just want to take some time to kind of speak about what I've learned about just a few of these areas. So the first thing I want to talk about is the importance of wellness. And the Journey to Esquire program really opened my eyes to how important it is for anyone really, to have a focus on wellness. Sometimes as law students, we are kind of conditioned, or we really kind of put pressure on ourselves, and it leads to kind of this cycle of fear, anxiety, and stress. And sometimes it's unwarranted, and unnecessary. And so it's good to really, as an individual, to take time and focus on self-care and focus on your mental health and focus on, your physical health, because you're going to need those things in order to have longevity and have a fulfilling life. And the more you can be a well-rounded whole person, the better you can serve your community and in the end serve your clients. And that's what I've kind of taken away as being the end goal. By taking care of yourself, it's not wasting time or just using up any sort of spare time that you may have to do things that may seem unnecessary. It's really going to help you, benefit you, to be the best attorney that you can be. And so some areas that I really kind of reflected on during this module and during the year are, what really makes a good lawyer, and defining that for myself. and where does my happiness come from, and how can I take these tools and practically focus on my overall wellness as a future attorney. And so I think the program really, like I said before, really opened my eyes to take the time to reflect on this, on something that, you as a student, you're so busy studying, and in my case, working full time and studying almost seems like an impossibility to have free time to do anything. So, but it is important to set aside that time to do this so that you can be your best self. The next thing I wanted to talk about is influence. So many of the modules that we did during the past year really challenged me, I think, to really think deeply, like I said before, on these issues and really come up with responses to them. And influence, I kind of encompassed for me leadership as well as mentorship, not just being mentored, but also looking forward to mentor other people. And one of the big things that I really had to review for myself is kind of an irrational fear of failure. But now taking a different approach to that and looking at it a different way, seeing failure as an advantage, as a way to kind of, as a tool really, to look at what didn't go right and how can I be better and how can I use this to succeed the next time, and just pushing yourself forward even when sometimes things don't go right. And so even if you're not in a position of leadership, it's always important to have this mindset, because you are a leader in your own right, and you should be working to lead other people just by influencing them, because people are watching you. The other thing that really stuck out to me was one of the readings that we did during the program. The author said, it's not fear that gets in the way of daring leadership, it's armor. And so that really was a powerful quote for me. And I really sat and thought about that. And so thinking of it a little bit deeper, is really saying that, it's not fear that's stopping you, it's that it's your response to the fear. So how are you responding to fear? Are you shutting down, or are you using it, like I said before, as a tool to help you push forward and be better, a better version of yourself? Also, the journey to Esquire really encouraged me to counteract that fear that I was talking about before, that would normally hold me back, to not go after some bigger things and some positions of leadership, but to really push forward and dream bigger and do bigger and better things. And so I'm really grateful for that. The next thing I want to talk about is paying it forward. And so this is just a quote. It says, the world can be harsh sometimes, but you can help change that. And when I think about paying it forward, it's not just about giving back. It's also about actively looking for ways to enrich the lives of others. And how can you help pass on what you've received? And so I see that really it's sometimes we can get caught in a routine and be busy and be occupied and be consumed with what we have going on in life. But it's really important to take that time to try to give back and try to lift someone else up and encourage people the way that you've been encouraged. And so the journey to Esquire really has shown me, the importance of that. I've done a lot of community service and a lot of outreach before, but it's really kind of motivated me in a different way to be looking forward to graduation and using what I've obtained through law school to not just build a career, but also to provide services to other people, for free through pro bono work and other volunteer opportunities. Because I feel like that is the real way that we can affect the change that we want to see in the community at large. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is diversity. This was a big point, not just because the program itself kind of focuses on diversity, but we spent some time talking on diversity specifically as well. And I feel that being able to collaborate and speak with people, a lot of the speakers that we would have week to week, or just being able to collaborate with other students through the program to draw insight from them and to talk about shared experiences was very eye-opening opportunity. It really encouraged me, empowered me to do my part and help others like me face the challenges that we may come across, and to challenge the stereotypes that are often associated with minorities in the legal field. Having the opportunity to be in the program during the time when the first African-American woman was confirmed to the Supreme Court of the United States, and watching now Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson's confirmation, I think really encapsulates a lot of what we learned during the program. And so really watching her confirmation and seeing what was happening there, it kind of brought up to the surface a lot of the feelings and the fears that many minority women and men face and struggle with during their professional career. It also showed that even though we have come a long way in the nation, we have more to go and more to do. It was the discussion of the topics that we did during this program that really made me analyze how to handle diversity in the workplace and the importance of it. It was something I thought about, but not as in depth. And so now I think it's something at the forefront of what I'm looking for when I go to move to my next stage after law school. Additionally, it made me look at different disparities between clients, lawyers, and judges. And again, like I said, the challenges that we face and how to make meaningful changes in the future. So just some final thoughts. This is a quote. It says that you can't always expect to be the smartest person in the room, but you can promise to be the hardest working. And that was a quote from Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson's confirmation hearing. And it really kind of, I feel, ties back into the Journey to Esquire program, because in the end, the program for me has really shown me and encouraged me to put my best foot forward and to finish law school strong, and that I can conquer the bar and I can conquer anything that, I may face in the future in my career. And to just, not to give up. Also, I'm grateful for the Journey to Esquire program because it's provided me with more than just tools and resources. It's given me the extra push that I needed to not hold back for fear of failure, but to keep pressing forward, even past adversity, to inspire the change that I want to see. And so I just would like to take a moment to just thank the Journey to Esquire program for the opportunity to be a part of the program this year, and especially thanks to Professor Hardrick for even coming up with this program and taking her time to pour into the lives of students of diverse backgrounds. Thank you to all the board members, the mentors, the volunteers, and to all the students for making this a great year. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is David Mitchell, and we're going to have a look into my journey to Esquire. Before I start, I want to say thank you to Jocelyn and everyone who's been involved. Journey to Esquire has been an amazing experience for me. I've learned so much. I've met so many people, and I'm really appreciative of this opportunity to be a scholar in the program. So I want to talk a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Jamaica. So growing up in Jamaica was like a very different experience, a very enjoyable experience. You know, I loved living in Jamaica. And then I moved to America at the age of 16. And I also, you know, love America. And there's a duality to it because, you know, people always ask me like, oh, you know, do you miss Jamaica or do you prefer America? And, you know, that's a very hard question because there's aspects of my identity that are tied to Jamaica that aren't in America. And there's aspects of who I want to be that are in America and not in Jamaica. So it's a very difficult place to be in, but I'm very happy for this position that I'm in. I'm a 3L at Stetson University College of Law. I always tell people that law school has been my favorite educational experience. I've learned so much. I've changed as a person, and my whole outlook on life has changed. And also, I like to play soccer just for fun as a hobby. So one of the first modules that we did was lawyer wellness. This module, I think, was very impactful to me. I learned a lot from it. I learned a lot about how I think about myself and like how I process information, how I handle situations. One of the first quotes Jocelyn said, I believe, was, if you don't make time for your wellness, you'll be forced to take time for your illness. And then it made me realize that every time I'm sick, it's usually like when I'm in like a stressful position and I'm neglecting like my physical health, I'm not exercising, I'm not eating properly. And then in turn, it makes me perform worse than on the task at hand because my inability to take care of my wellness, you know, having a good balance reduces my performance. And also the competition, I now view it solely as like oneself. You know, they always say comparison is the thief of joy. And when you realize that you're competing with yourself, not with anyone else, because other people, like how they present themselves or situations that they've been in, I feel like I've grown to realize, especially in law school, they're undervaluing like the time they spend on something. Like they'll tell you they spend, oh, it took me 30 minutes to do it, but in reality, it probably took them like 2 hours. And then in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, it took me 2 hours and this person's doing it in 30 minutes. So I realized pretty quickly, and this reinforced it, that you have to just be focused on yourself and be in competition with yourself. And physically and mentally, you have to take care of yourself. Mentally by allowing yourself time for yourself to, for your spiritual and mental health. And then physically, you know, exercising, being outdoors, getting some sunlight. And there was a quote by Wayne Dyer that says, if you change the way you look at things, it's actually, I can't really see it. Okay. To change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that quote I found very interesting and impactful because it's really all about your outlook, how that affects you and how you deal with it. So if you have a positive outlook, it changes everything, how you perceive things. And then another thing that I really gained from the lawyer wellness was that there's no deadline to success. Just because I didn't achieve a goal, like if I set a goal to achieve something and I didn't achieve it in the manner in which I anticipated to achieve it, doesn't mean that goal is no longer achievable or I can't have other forms of success. Okay. The first of the bar prep modules was like my first real introduction into conceptualizing and visualizing what the bar will be like. You know, I remember one of the questions was like, well, where are you gonna study for the bar? And I thought about it, I was like, well, I can't study at home for 6-7 hours because then I'll never accomplish anything. So from then I've been like, you know, being practical of like where I'm going to study and like implementing a routine. And then time management, like with my friends and family, while maintaining that routine, because they're not going to understand what I'm going through preparing for the bar and the level of commitment and dedication it takes. So, they're probably going to want to like be calling me in the middle of like a lecture or saying like, hey, like we should go out. So I have to be mindful of that, but just still informing them of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and what I need to do to complete it. And also, I received a lot of resources through Jessica and her website for the bar in being mindful, meditation, motivation. And she kind of emphasized like the motivation aspect of the bar, that it's really like a mental challenge as well as like an academic challenge. But in order to conquer the bar fully, you have to be mentally motivated to endeavor. So mentorship, one of the things I was looking forward to most with this program was mentorship. All the panelists have been amazing. I've connected with so many of them, and they've always been so inviting for me to like reach out if I have any questions or follow up on anything, and they're always like really nice. So I've been really appreciative of that opportunity. And even couple of the panelists I've actually met in person and stuff. And then otherwise, like Jocelyn has individually sent me, like she'd be like, oh, David, like I know a Jamaican lawyer in the area that I know you guys can like connect with, and I've connected with them. So I've really appreciated that opportunity. And then as well as networking, I've never been the greatest at networking, but this program has like pushed me to like be talking to people and be meeting people. So it's been like really affecting and improving my networking skills. So I'm really appreciative for that. So diversity. The diversity panel was one of my favorite panels. It was very real, very down to earth, very practical. They really got into it, like what it's like being a lawyer and then what they went through in law school. And I really related to that experience because I realized even though they went to different schools and different areas, that our experience was almost like identical. So that panel really shed light onto like the general experience of being a minority in law school, and kind of gives you an idea that you're not alone going through this, and they did it and they're succeeding, and then kind of gives me motivation to know that I can do it as well. And then also how to combat imposter syndrome. When you're the only person that looks like you in the room, how do you like deal with that? Because like for me, I grew up in Jamaica, where Jamaica is predominantly a Black country. I'm Black, so everyone that I was dealing with was also Black. Everyone in a leadership role, my doctors, lawyers, business leaders, they were all Black. So coming to America and being a minority and not seeing anyone that looks like it's very weird for me. But them shedding light on like how to overcome that imposter syndrome and knowing that you earn the right to be in that space and no one can take that away from me or take that away from anyone else, because we've earned the right to be in that space. And leadership. So one of the things I really want to do and I've been working on is to, enhance my leadership skills, come out my comfort zone, because I really do want to be influential to people. I have positive goals that I want to help people. So being able to connect with people and develop leadership skills has been an amazing benefit to me. Not only am I like I liked how the panel addressed like not being afraid to connect with people. I would say I'm probably more on the shyer side. So acknowledging that and that I need to be able to connect with people to enhance my leadership skills, and not doubting myself and undervaluing myself in terms of how people see me, because everyone has something to offer. So when I'm in that position, I need to recognize the value that I have and that I bring. And then in turn, I can collaborate with everyone to maximize like all the value that we have. And another thing the panel really like touched on was not only being involved, but being passionate. Like having passion is one of the identifiable traits that people really like and people follow. So if you're just doing something just to say that you did it, that's not, that's in and of itself isn't enough. But having a passion behind it is really what gets people like drawn towards you. So another module and panel was professionalism. I think it was Corey that said this quote. He said, build work around the life you want to have, as opposed to building life around the work you have. So, you know, when I think about work, or when I thought about work, I always thought about, you know, getting a job and then building everything I want around that job, you know, whether it be location and everything. But he had the opposite of approach and saying, build your life around, build your life and then build your life around the work that you have. So that's meaning like, you know, personal development, understanding your personal goals, and then having a firm or job that fits into that description. Another thing professionally that I've been working on, and I hadn't before this program, was like keeping up with my LinkedIn profile and connecting with people and interacting with people. Before this program, I don't even think I had a picture on my LinkedIn profile. Like I made the profile, but I had no connections, I had no picture, I had no like description or bio or anything. So since then, I've really been up to date with my LinkedIn, and I've been connecting with people, especially the panelists. And also the resume, cover letter, and interview tips, those were amazing. I've had so many nuances to my resume change because of that, and my approach to writing cover letters, and specifically interview tips, because I was going through a phase where I wasn't doing well in interviews. I wasn't sure if it's the way I was asking questions or the type of questions I was asking. And he really rephrased some of the questions in a way that the answer that it solicits and the emotional response that it solicits, it's very different, even though I'm essentially seeking the same information and asking essentially the same question. So that really helped me in my approach looking forward. So I want to say thank you again. Jocelyn Hardrick is amazing. The founder of this program. This is an amazing program. I'm very thankful and very grateful to be a part of this program. I also want to thank all the board members, all the panelists. I want to thank Jocelyn again for the scholarship. You know, during bar prep, where you have to work, you have to study 5 to 6 days a week. You know, you don't have an opportunity to work. So this scholarship is really helpful, and I'm really appreciative to Jocelyn Hardrick and to Journey to Esquire as a program, because for me, I've learned so much, and I'm very thankful to have been a part of it. And I'm looking forward to seeing this program continue to grow for the future and helping out in the future if necessary. Thank you.
All right, hello. My name is Jessica Merker, and before I begin, I'd actually like to ask everyone for a really big favor, because you've been so supportive. I just want to have everyone take a deep breath with me. And honestly, this is mostly just to help me calm my nerves. And if you just take a quick glance away from your screen and then back again, I will begin. So my name is Jessica Merker. I'm a 3L at Stetson, and during my time there, I've had the good fortune of being involved with the Moot Court Board, the Dispute Resolution Board, and the Stetson Journal of Advocacy and the Law. I've also served as a Stetson ambassador, and I've worked as a teaching assistant to Professor Lake and Professor Bowman. And these experiences have certainly been transformational for me. But as a capstone to my law school experience and this final year of my legal studies, being a Journey to Esquire scholar has been the ultimate honor. And to that end, I'd like to share with you a poem that I wrote. Because I'm a big fan of things coming full circle, I actually began my Journey to Esquire application with a poem. And this poem that I'm going to share with you today is a pantome. And pantomes are a poetic form that's based in repetition. They're composed of 4-line stanzas, and the second and the fourth lines of those stanzas actually repeat below as the first and third lines of the next stanza. So this particular poem borrows something from the life cycle of an orchid. And normally I wouldn't explain either anything about the form of the poem or even the basis of a poem, because I appreciate poems standing on their own. But because I did not know anything about orchids before I was actually gifted one at the beginning of this program, I thought it might be helpful for anyone new to orchids like me to be reminded that orchids have flowers that bloom from a single stem in cycles of 1 to 2 times a year. And so they spend actually a lot of their time laying dormant, waiting for their regrowth. And in those dormant times, they still need water and light, and a sign of their life can actually be measured by the greenness of their leaves. And to me, there's tons of metaphors here, but the thing that I found most striking about caring for an orchid is that once they do bloom and the flowers die, the old stem that once carried those phenomenal flowers actually needs to be cut back to make way for new growth. And so with that introduction, this is my poem, and it's called Living as an Orchid, a Pantone poem. I was paused, harbored here in green leaves, cut stem but saved, waiting out the years between blooms. In green leaves, cut stem but saved, the seasons of law between blooms taught me what it means to be queer. The seasons of law, now demanding more than silence, taught me what it means to be queer and gifted me this, Journey to Esquire. Now, demanding more than silence, I have become unmoored and gifted this, Journey to Esquire. I am ready to bloom. So being here, part of the Journey to Esquire program truly means the world to me. I came to law school after teaching high school English and creative writing, and I realized how all of my frustrations in my classroom had ties back to laws and policies in some way or another. And some of those frustrations were personal. And as a queer woman, my diversity is not something you can see. So in my professional capacity as a teacher, I early on made the unfortunate and ultimately unhealthy choice to keep my sexual orientation hidden for way too long out of fear. I was fearful of rejection from students, from parents, and from fellow teachers. But more importantly, I had a fear of losing my job because the district where I taught had both a history of discrimination and no legal protections for queer folks like me. So when I finally made the decision to come out in my role as a teacher, that was the first step towards embracing myself unconditionally, and it ultimately propelled me toward law school. And while I really do think still that education is the heart of social change, I've come to learn that law is its soul. And as I look forward to graduation and entering the legal field as my authentic self, I really have to just express my endless thanks for Professor Hardrick for establishing this program, for everyone who sits on its board, and for each panelist who has shared Saturdays with us this past year. Also for my colleagues who I was fortunate enough to participate in this program alongside. I want to thank each of you for accepting me as I am and for making me feel safe and supported in this space. The most significant aspect of the Journey to Esquire program is that it's not only a scholarship, which as a second career law student with limited resources is obviously an incredibly big deal to me, but Journey to Esquire is a program. It has resources, both academic and in the form of personal guidance, as we've heard today, from wellness to networking and bar prep, that supports and supplements our law school educations. And I also want to specifically thank my Journey to Esquire mentor, Sarah Lahlou-Amine, for her constant support, from taking me out to lunch to listening to me vent and helping me problem solve, and also for introducing me to practitioners in her network. As a direct result of this program and Sarah's guidance, I will be working as a staff attorney at the 2nd District Court of Appeal after graduating. Coming from a place where I never thought I'd be a law student to being at this juncture is incredible. And this program has quite literally shifted the entire course of my life. Certainly in ways that are measurable, and others, and perhaps more importantly, in ways that are not. So thank you, Professor Hardrick, Sarah, and the Journey to Esquire team for allowing me to live this year as an orchid. I'm forever grateful.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lucero Ayala Feliciano, and I am a scholar in the program, and I want to talk to you about my personal journey to becoming an Esquire. My journey dates back to 2015 when I graduated high school and decided to make the decision to move away from the only home I'd ever known in Puerto Rico to Tampa, Florida to go to college. I am a first-generation student, which means that I applied to college with blindfolds on, and I had to face rejection very early on. I applied to a lot of schools all over Florida, and I got rejected from the school that I thought was my dream school, USF. But as many say, when one door closes, another one opens, and I got accepted into the University of Tampa, which was a dream come true. I majored in criminal justice, and I wanted to start taking some law school classes to start to get the hang of what it would feel like to go to law school. Even though I had already told everyone and their moms that I was going to be a lawyer, I was very fearful. There was the fear of failure, the fear of not allowing myself to try, and the most present fear of not knowing the language well enough. In order to get through and overcome all of that, I took on a mentor and a lot of leadership positions in my school, which allowed me to graduate and succeed. Fast forward to 2018, I graduated UT with honors in a matter of 3 years. And the two most pivotal experiences for me were an internship at the state attorney's office in the RICO racketeering division, and an internship at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, where I completed over 100 hours of ride-alongs. So this allowed me to understand the bigger picture of the criminal justice system and dive right into LSAT. Much like the SAT, I did not score well on standardized tests, and this was no different. And in addition to that, applying to law school was a journey of its own. It's very complex and very costly. And I ended up using everything that I had saved in the 3 years of undergrad to just apply to law schools. Now, at this point, I was already very familiar with rejections, so I was expecting and not to be accepted everywhere, but I was hopeful to be accepted somewhere where it would allow me to succeed. So I chose WMU Cooley Law School. It's a great school, small campus where you get individualized attention for your professors. And it was also very close to home, so it allowed me to not have to move. Oops. In 2018, I became a parent to this cutie in a very unconventional way. He is my stepson. He was this young when he became a big part of my life. And I got a lot of backlash from my family from taking this big role as his stepmother. They were fearful that I was going to let this be an issue and put law school as number 2. But instead, I look at his face, and he was what I needed to drive myself to succeed, because the only thing that I ever wanted from the time that he became part of my life when he was 6 months old was to give him everything and anything that he would ever need. That doesn't mean that law school wasn't the biggest challenge that I have ever faced, because you have to adjust yourself and your expectations, especially being an overachiever like all of us are, especially in undergrad. You have to adjust yourself to what grades are going to look like on your first terms. I got a 2.5, and it took me a long time to get out of that 2. But part of that meant quitting my job and becoming a full-time student, as well as doing Q&A books for every class and over 7 exams from the professor's exam bank, which I'm grateful that all of that was accessible to us. With a lot of work and long days and nights, I reached my goal GPA. It helped that in 2020, we went online and it was open book, but that didn't change how challenging law school could still be, and it faced a lot of difficulties of its own to be an online student. When things finally opened back up, I began networking, and I found myself joining Journey to Esquire in 2021. Journey to Esquire has been a blessing. As many of you have shared, it's the perfect way to wrap up our last year of law school and our journey to becoming attorneys. Professor Jocelyn Hardrick was my criminal law professor, and she was already a mentor of mine. So it was immensely great opportunity to be able to be part of the program that she created. Her, as well as the other board members, encouraged me to apply to scholarships, competitive internships, as well as job opportunities. A lot of people have sat down with me to go through my resume, cover letters, help me find resources. And most importantly, they connected me with amazing mentors in our legal community, Christine Norris and Judge Baggy Hernandez, as well as other members of the legal profession. They provided me with coaching during the February bar exam, which for anyone who's taking the upcoming exam in July, you take all the help that you can take, as well as a scholarship award, because you also go broke studying for the bar exam, and it's a blessing in and of itself. Fast forward to 2021, not too long ago, this year was probably the best year I've had in a while. It's where everything came together and I finally started to see the results of all my hard work. These were some of the accomplishments that made my year. I joined Law Review. I completed 2 internships as a CLI at the State Attorney's Office and as an intern at the U.S. Attorney's Office. I won the mock trial competition in my school alongside with my best friend. I got scholarship opportunities and I was able to graduate this past December cum laude. Now I started bar prep a month prior in November, and I'm set on the February bar exam. In addition to that, I also got engaged in early 2021. So that was a great way to start my year. And in August of this year, we will be getting married. So put that in there. And these are some graduation pictures that I took at my alma mater at the University of Tampa, and some pictures with my family, which are my biggest support group, my biggest cheerleaders. And without every single one of them, I would not have made it through law school or bar prep or any of it. 2022, the start of this year was less exciting than I expected, because we didn't get to celebrate any holidays. We had to be in study mode and basically put ourselves in isolation once again from November to February. But I am happy to report that all that hard work and all that was worth something, because I passed the Florida bar exam. I got the results on Monday and I have been crying all week because it's a very emotional roller coaster. I'm starting law school, not knowing what your life is going to be like, and finally arriving your destination and achieving your dreams is a feeling like no other. And I could not have gotten this far without this program, without the mentors and everyone who paved the path. I was sworn in as an ASA at the State Attorney's Office, and this has been my dream job since I was an undergrad student in 2015. I want to take this time to thank my parents and my fiance for all their support and patience with me during the bar exam, Professor Jocelyn Hardbrick for being a great mentor and leader and establishing this program so that students like ourselves can prioritize ourselves and our needs and make the connections that we need to succeed, as well as the members of the board. Attorney Christine Norris and Judge Baggy Hernandez for being amazing and sticking it out with me through bar prep, as well as my friends and family. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nina Sterling, and I am also one of the scholars in this program. So here's a little bit about my journey to Esquire. So just a little bit of background. So I am a first-generation American. My family is from Costa Rica, and they migrated to the US in the early 90s. And they moved to Brooklyn, New York, which is where I was born and raised. And so growing up, I always knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. From when I was about the age of 5 or 6 years old, I would watch these court shows with my grandmother, and I was just so fascinated. And I would always tell her, like, I'm going to be one of these. I'm going to be just like them. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a judge. And that's something that I've always said from when I was small. But unfortunately, my grandmother passed away when I was younger, so she never got a chance to see me accomplish any of these dreams. So my journey was a little bit different. I graduated with my bachelor's in 2014, and I was 19 years old. And my plan was to go to school, get out of undergrad, and to go straight into law school. But God had other plans for me. So when I was 21, I got pregnant with my daughter. And I had her when I was 21, my daughter Janiyah, which is right here in the picture. And at that time, when I found out that I was pregnant, I went into like a very deep depression. I was very sad. I thought that my life was over. And I just kind of gave up on any dreams I've had of becoming a lawyer. I received a lot of negative comments and feedback from people who were very close to me, just letting me know that, like, you know, having a child at a young age, that basically my life was over. And I just internalized that. So for 2 years, I just decided to focus on being a mom instead of ever going to law school. But I started working and I was just unhappy. I just knew that this is not what I wanted, or this is not where I wanted to be. So in 2018, I decided to just give it a shot, and I decided to take the LSATs and apply to law schools and see if I would get in. So when I finally got into law school, I was like, I got into Cooley, which was in Tampa, but I lived in Brooklyn, New York. So I thought about it for a while, and I decided that I'm gonna move to Tampa with my daughter to pursue my dreams and make a difference. So I moved to Florida and I started law school. When I was a 2L in Cooley, it was the first time that I heard about the Journey to Esquire program. And I learned about it through a lot of my classmates. And it was a lot of students who I spoke throughout my journey who were a part of this program. And they just told me about all the great things, the resources that they had with this program, a lot of the things that they learned in joining this program. So when I was a 2L, I would come to different workshops and programs, and I would just listen to the speakers and learn. And I just knew that this is a program that I had to be a part of. So before I joined Journey to Esquire, I was very nervous about graduating law school, becoming an attorney, because I came from the inner cities of Brooklyn, New York. I didn't know anyone who was an attorney. I didn't have any family members who were attorneys, and I just didn't know what to expect. I didn't have any guidance. I was new to Tampa, Florida. I was here by myself, and I just felt like I wasn't sure what I would do next. So when I joined this program, everything for me changed. As everyone stated, the workshops were extremely amazing, from the workshops about our wellness to workshops about bar prep. All of those programs helped me a lot. I think the most impactful one for me at the time was the bar prep program workshops, because I joined this program in my 3L year in my last term. So I was also studying for the bar while being a part of the program. So as someone stated earlier, when they said to make it real, think about what your bar prep journey is going to look like, that was the first time I've started to even consider that the bar was coming and I had to be prepared. So that program really helped me. That workshop really helped me. And then Professor Hardrick, she was my bar coach throughout that time as well. So I would also have like weekly check-ins with her about my journey and what bar prep was going. And I struggled a lot through bar prep. I faced, as the speaker spoke about a lot of imposter syndrome. I felt like I wasn't where I needed to be, or I started to second guess if this was for me. And I remember one conversation that I had with Professor Hardrick during that time, and I told her that I just felt like, I don't know if I'll be able to make it through. I don't know if I can do this. And she reminded me of how I had my daughter at a young age and I still overcame those obstacles. I went to law school, I struggled, and I still overcame those obstacles. So why am I looking at this any differently? And that conversation not only resonated with me through bar prep, but on the day of the exam. On the day of the exam, I broke down. I felt like it was over, like I just bombed the exam. And I just remembered hearing her tell me that, like, you've already overcome all these obstacles. Why are you making this one to be any different than the others? And that helped me get through the multiple choice questions, that helped me get through another and another MBE question because I was exhausted and I just couldn't look at one more MBE question. So, that was just one of the many ways that the program has helped me. So like Lucero, I took the bar exam in February, and I'm excited that I passed the bar exam on Monday and got sworn in on Tuesday. So I am now working for the state attorney's office, and I couldn't be more excited and I couldn't be more relieved. It's weird. People ask me, like, how do I feel being here? And it's still like it hasn't hit me, because you work so hard to get to this point. And then when you get there, it's like, wow, like there's just a weight lifted off your shoulders. And when I started working, a lot of the things that I've learned in this program is what I've used. The diversity, about being the only person in the room that may look like you or that may have the same mindset as you, that has helped me to not be afraid or to shy away from anything, but to continue to push forward. The mentorships, Judge Baggy Hernandez has been my mentor, and he has helped me all the way. He even came to my swearing in. And just to have that, to feel like I'm not the only person, to feel like I'm in a place, I have a sense of belonging, which we spoke about earlier. It just tied everything together. And I don't know if I would have been where I am today without this program and without this journey. So I'm excited to see where the next chapter is going to be. And as far as the future holds for me, I don't know where I will be, but I do know that similar to this program, it's my duty to help others. And I know that I want to be the person who helps other people get into the same position. If there's been one comment that I've received the most in becoming an attorney, is that people are so inspired, or they look up to me and they think like I'm a genius because I'm here. And I'm like, no, you don't have to be a genius to be an attorney. You don't have to be the smartest person. You just have to have the drive, the dedication to keep going forward. And so I want to make sure that other kids who came from the inner cities or who don't have, family members who are attorneys or anything like that, is able to still pursue their dreams. We hear when we're children, like the sky is the limit, but you really don't believe it. And I really want to put that into fruition. Like, we can really achieve anything. I wasn't supposed to be here. I had a child, my family migrated here, and I wasn't supposed to be here, but I did. I'm here. And so that's my goal. And I know that with this program, I'm going to be able to do so much great things. So I'm so appreciative of being a scholar. This has been the best journey so far throughout my life, and I'm just excited to see what the next steps are.
So my name is Tashina, but I go by Sheena. I am an intern in the program, and I am a 3L, and this is my last term. Like, I'm so excited. But it's not over. The bar comes up next. So before I talk about what Journey to Esquire means to me, I just want to say that Nina really encourages me because I don't know her personally, but I've been in classes with her, and joining Journey to Esquire, I felt like, you know, coming from the inner city, you do feel different when you go into law school, because there are other people that may look like you, they just may not have that same life experience as you. So Nina had spoken to me about that, and it makes me feel good to know that I'm not alone. So I just want to say thank you for that, and you do inspire me. Starting off with Journey to Esquire, when I got into law school, it was different for me. I am a mother. I have 3 children. I had my first child at the age of 16. So this journey has been a while for me, a long journey for me. I've been going to school, I could say probably for the past 14 years or so, trying to get here. I had a hard time getting into law school. I didn't have a strong educational background, so it was very challenging for me. Didn't have any study habits. So going for the LSAT and just not really knowing how to study was a challenge for me. But Cooley gave me an opportunity to get into law school, and I'm very grateful for that. My first time really getting the desired grades that I wanted was when I first joined Journey to Esquire, which was funny because I learned of the program my first year of law school. Mamie Wise was one of the board members, and she had told me about the program. So I had it in mind, and I was trying my hardest to be a part of the program. So I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to be an intern and still learn and take part of the things that the scholar took part in, but I was also able to help. Some of the modules for me that were best for me was wellness. Just having that confidence, knowing that, you know, I'm here because I worked hard to be here and I deserve to be here. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to wrap my mind around, that I did this and I deserve this. Seeing people who look like me encourage me and share their stories, and just the networking module, talking about networking, talking about getting out there and letting people know who you are is very, very important. And it just showed me that I was doing what I needed to do to be successful, even though I didn't have anyone to guide me. And I remember my first year seeing Professor Hardrick, I felt like, I don't know who she is, but I need to connect with her. And I remember sending her an email asking her to be my advisor. And at the time she said she couldn't do it. So I said to her, well, can you just be my mentor off the record? And she was like, yeah. And then heaven smiled on me, and she sent me another email and she told me she could be my advisor. Waking up every Saturday morning, going to class all week was a lot, but it was like when I got here on Saturday, it was an opportunity to learn about how to become a lawyer, how to be successful in the legal community. I remember our last module, when we were talking about professionalism, David was talking about looking for jobs and how he was interviewing. And it never even dawned on me that I was at the end, and it was time to really start putting myself out there and looking for jobs, and just not, you know, I wasn't ready. I seen it coming, but I didn't. It's just like, kind of like what Nina said, none of this has hit me yet. And then this morning I get on and Tammy's talking about the internal boogie monster, and that's what I've been dealing with. But Journey to Esquire has really helped me do some self-evaluations and just know that I'm out there and this is just a great program. It's a great support system. I advocated to all my classmates, even before I even became a part of the program. I advocated because law school is hard. And if you don't have anybody that did this before you, you just don't know certain things and you miss out on opportunities. And that's what this program offers. It offers you the opportunity to learn of opportunities that you probably would not know of. And I just want to thank the board members. I want to thank my mentor, Bree, because she's been there for me and just me seeing things from a different perspective. She opened my eyes to know, well, this is custom, but just because it's custom, you don't have to do it. So thank you, Bree. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you to the donors. Thank you. Just thank you to everyone. Thank you to my fellow classmates. All of you have encouraged me. I am looking forward to the bar. I'm looking forward to passing the bar, and I'm looking forward to becoming a lawyer and using my voice to advocate for people, but also to be an example for everybody, everyone that comes from where I come from, who feels like they can't, or this is not even an option. See and know that this is an option. So thank you. And thank you so much, Professor Hardrick. You mean the world to me. I really appreciate you and I appreciate this program.
Thank you so much to the students. I'm trying not to cry over here. I am the president, the founder, and the executive director of Journey to Esquire. I call myself the Tyler Perry of the program, right? Written, produced, starring, but I do not do it alone. So thank you so much to all these students. Thank you for sharing those personal stories. You all never disappoint, and there's always a wide range of experiences that we hear from. So I hope that you've learned the impact that the program can really have on these students. And they've put in a lot of work. This is a year-long program. And so it really takes commitment, and they have to trust me and trust the board members in the program to be meaningful for them. So I know we're a little over time, but we only have a few more things. So I'm gonna share my screen so you can see some of the photos of some of the other wonderful people part of the program. We're going to hear from our board members, and we're also going to announce our Law Day Writing and Art Competition winners. I know some of the parents are on here, very excited to share that. So give me one moment while I share my screen. Okay, that looks good. And then the first person we're going to hear from is Jamila Little, who will talk about our internship program. Then we're going to hear from Jonathan Kernizan, who will talk about our podcast. Then Darnisha Carter will cover our blog. Marisol Ruiz will discuss the modules. And then I will go into the Law Day Writing and Art Competition winners, and we will be wrapping up. Are you ready, Jamila?
I am ready. As you guys heard, we had some really phenomenal scholars. Well, we had equally amazing interns. And this year we had 4 law students complete an internship. Each student was in charge of a certain task related to our program. And so they learned how a nonprofit operates and got the opportunity to access our training modules, mentorship, relationships, and networking opportunities. The students assisted with creating and publishing the podcast, publishing and editing the blog, social media, and setting up the modules and events. The class of 2022 interns are Sheena Burton, who assisted with modules, Jessica Civillo, who was in charge of the blog, Logan Jackson, who was in charge of the podcast, and Jamal Roberts, who ran our social media campaigns. All of these students attended WMU Cooley Law School, as well as Stetson University College of Law. We are so grateful to our interns, and we thank you for your assistance in making our program and resources available for all of our law students.
All right, so I'm here to speak about the podcast. We had season 3 of the podcast this year. For For those of you who are not familiar, Journey to Esquire, the podcast, is a resource for students and young lawyers alike, like myself, providing the best ways to promote diversity, create access, and feed the legal pipeline with lawyers who will lead, mentor, and inspire. The format varies between interviews, tutorials, recordings of live events, individual stories from legal professionals in the Tampa Bay area and beyond. The podcast is run by board members, students, and alumni. So in season 3, we had, quite a variety of guests. Some of the likes of Adil Bashir, who is the president of the American Muslim Bar Association, and he's an appellate attorney at the Federal Public Defender's Office. We had Maren Gebremescu, who spoke about finding passions outside of the practice of law, and Precious Williams, who gave a great presentation of her, her time in law school and this thing we keep hearing about, imposter syndrome. So that's just to mention a few. If you haven't checked it out, you can find it everywhere you get your podcast. We have a YouTube channel. They're on our website. So find it. I think you guys will find it helpful.
And we also started the Journey to Esquire, the blog, which covers various topics relevant to the law school experience and preparing our students to become a lawyer who leads, mentors, and inspires. Jocelyn Hardrick prepared articles for the blog. Also, Jessica Savillo prepared 2 articles herself and edited submissions from the class of 2022. And we published several articles in total covering topics that address our ideals, which again are inclusion, diversity, equity, access, and leadership. We also had a guest blogger named Daniel Cardwell, who was the winner of the Tampa Bay chapter of the Federal Bar Association's essay contest. And you can access these articles on our website. Next year, we'll welcome guest submissions. So if you like writing, please contact us to be a part of our blog post, and you can visit our website to read more of our blog posts.
We also had modules. This year, we actually had 11 modules covering the following topics: lawyer wellness, bar prep, mentoring, judicial clerkships, legal writing, diversity, paying it forward, pro bono, leadership and professionalism, resume writing. And these modules, students interacted with guest speakers who are legal practitioners and both novice and experienced to discuss the challenges and best practices for practicing law, legal writing, preparing for the bar exam, networking, taking on leadership roles, and importantly, taking care of oneself as a lawyer. Our board members coordinated each module throughout the year. Thanks to all of our volunteers who make it possible. Their names are listed in the program.
And I am so excited to talk about the winners of our Law Day writing competition. So in celebration of Law Day, May 1st, 2022, we conducted a writing and art competition with the theme Toward a More Perfect Union in alignment with the American Bar Association. In 1958, the president designated May 1st as Law Day, which is meant to celebrate and strengthen the American heritage of liberty, justice, and equality under the law. The contest was open to all middle school students in grades 6 through 8th in Hillsborough and Pinellas counties, Florida. We received several submissions, but the following are the winners. So the first place is Christian Gettler from Thurgood Marshall Fundamental Middle School. He's a 6th grader, and he submitted artwork, which was colored pencil on paper. Our second place winner is Ella Owens from Coleman Middle School, who submitted a fictional short story, which was untitled. And our third place winner is Ava Farchione, who's also at Coleman Middle School. And she submitted a nonfiction essay, How the Judicial Branch Reflects the Rights of U.S. Citizens. The essays will be available to read on our blog that we'll post shortly. And I also plan on reading them and making them part of our podcast because they're really great essays by these middle school students. And I just wanted to share the piece of art that Christian drew, and there's a wonderful picture of him in his draft mode and artist mode, putting together that piece of artwork, which I think is absolutely wonderful. I just love it, and it just captured the theme of Law Day. I'd like to thank the Federal Bar Association, who is funding kind of the framing of this piece of art, and we will be displaying it for Law Day, and to our partner bar associations who want to frame it at their, display it at their events. Congratulations to the winners. We also want to give a quick congratulations. These are some of our students from previous classes: Ray Petty, Justin Bell, Destiny Rawls, Keziah Maria Hill, Breon Love, Shannon Walker, and Mia Tolliver, who all passed the bar exam and have since been admitted to the practice of law, and they're out living their wonderful lawyer life. So congratulations to these alums. Congratulations to these 4 lovely ladies who graduated from WMU Cooley Law School. They graduated in December of last year, and you've heard from 2 of them, Nina and Lucero, and also Jeanette. She was one of our participants. And congratulations to the February 2022 Florida Bar Exam passers. We have our alums Nina, Anna Leonard, Lucero, Jeanette, Damien, Rape, and Hala Al-Katan. So they took the February 2022 bar and passed, and are on their way to completing their journey to Esquire. We're so proud of these students. As you've heard from them, this bar exam is not easy. So it takes a lot of effort in overcoming internal and external barriers, a lot of hard work, and we're so proud of them for passing the exam. And we wanted to give a quick note that if you are ready to lend a hand, visit the website, because we need you. We could use your time, talent, and treasure. So your time is to mentor a student, your talent is to speak at one of our modules, and your treasure is to donate or become a sponsor. All the information you need to do any of these things is on our website, journeytoesquire.com. We want to thank our sponsors. You've heard from St. Pete Bar Association, which from Leah, they sponsor one of our scholarships. Also Butler, which is a longtime sponsor. The Clearwater Bar Association, which is a new sponsor this year. 12-2 Training, which is my personal company, and of course I've sponsored every year. And another new sponsor, Justin Florida Law. And so this is the time where we let you know, you've heard from these students about their experiences, and we love to celebrate our students. And we have the link to donate on our website. I will also put that in the chat. We need your time, talent, and treasure. And in order to support this wonderful work, we do need money in order to do so. Not only do we give cash scholarships directly to the students so that they can use their good judgment to balance out their financial needs. And as you've heard from a lot of the students, some of them have children. We encourage them not to work if they can afford to do so. Some of them do work. We still have all kinds of bills so that they can stay focused on the bar exam, but also we're looking to hire a staff member to help put all this work together. All of these different modules, the podcast, the blog, the volunteer, the speakers, everyone's a volunteer in this program. It's 100% volunteer run. No one gets paid. And you've heard from our wonderful board members. We want to give them another quick shout out. And if you go to the website, you can donate through PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, or Google Pay. And every donation counts, even a small amount of $5 or $10. And so I'd like to thank everyone for their support. It's been my absolute pleasure doing this work, creating lawyers who lead, mentor, and inspire one student at a time. But we do need your help in doing this work. So if you're interested, please follow us on social media, reach out to us, sign up for our mailing list to stay updated, and you can volunteer to be a mentor or speaker or help spread the word. Thank you to our keynote speaker again, Tammy Briant Spratling, for taking the time to speak to us and share her story and her wisdom. Thank you to all of our partner voluntary bar organizations, our mentors, our volunteers, our podcast guests, the hosts, and everyone who has helped make this year our best year of all. The full list of all of the people who helped make this wonderful program come together for the class of 22 is in the program, and the link for the program is in the chat. And despite the multiple crises we faced this year and last year and the year before, as a nation and a global village, we've been able to come together and make lemonade out of the lemons we've been served. So we're looking forward to the great things that our students will accomplish as they go forward. This was our 4th class. We started a class of 2019. And I'd like to give a quick shout out to Brielle Bell, who is one of our class of 2019 alums. She's also on the board as the vice president and the board chair. And she couldn't join us as a panelist today, but she's with us in spirit and listening in. And so we want to make sure we acknowledge her as well. And that is the end of our scholar presentations. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll stop the recording.